No one has yet found the location of the Garden of Eden, though many have tried. But why do we want to find it?
Do you believe in miracles? Imagine the moment when everything you thought you knew gets turned upside down. Morgan Freeman, the legendary actor we all know and admire, has spent a lifetime exploring some of life's greatest mysteries. Known for his calm, wise presence, Freeman has often portrayed characters of deep spiritual insight, yet his real-life beliefs have always been more reserved. For Freeman, faith was an intriguing puzzle, a complex mystery he could observe, dissect, and even narrate but never fully embrace. Yet a single unexpected moment would bring him closer to an answer than he ever expected. Born in Memphis, Tennessee, Freeman's life wasn't one of immediate fame. His childhood was defined by resilience and discipline. Raised in a modest household, he grew up understanding the importance of hard work and survival. Young Morgan was quiet and reflective, often seen reading or observing the world around him with curiosity. He questioned everything, especially the beliefs of those around him. What was this thing called faith? And why did it hold so much power for so many? His mind was a restless ocean of inquiry. As he grew older, the world of acting called to him, and he found himself drawn to roles that mirrored his own search for meaning. In these roles, he could immerse himself in stories of love, loss, and the mysterious forces that drive humanity. Yet even as he found success, fame, and a worldwide platform, these accomplishments did little to provide him with the answers he sought. They gave him influence and respect, but they couldn't satisfy the deeper questions that lingered in his soul. As Freeman gained global recognition, he often found himself pondering the biggest mysteries of life. Why are we here? What lies beyond? But the idea of placing his faith in something he couldn't touch or see always kept him at a distance. Freeman's career in Hollywood flourished as he took on roles that often intersected with themes of morality, wisdom, and even divinity. From playing God himself in Bruce Almighty to narrating documentaries that explored the unknown, Freeman became a figure associated with deep existential themes. These roles transformed him into a cinematic embodiment of wisdom and understanding. His calm, thoughtful portrayals seemed almost prophetic, drawing audiences into a journey of discovery and insight. Yet behind the scenes, Freeman was still on the fence about faith. He approached it as one might a fascinating script, examining, questioning, and debating it internally, but he couldn't bring himself to embrace it fully. This intellectual curiosity led him to host and narrate The Story of God, a groundbreaking documentary series where he explored the various beliefs, rituals, and teachings of religions around the world. Freeman was fascinated by the diversity of faith traditions and the universality of certain spiritual questions. He traveled to ancient temples, churches, and mosques, speaking to religious leaders and followers who lived out their beliefs with passion and dedication. He saw firsthand how faith brought comfort and purpose to millions, yet he remained a respectful observer, never quite crossing that threshold himself. In interviews, Freeman often shared that he approached religion with an open mind but without a personal sense of devotion. He respected those who found strength in their faith but saw himself as an outsider, a student of humanity's need for connection to something greater. This perspective allowed him to connect with viewers deeply while maintaining a respectful distance from any one belief. However, what he didn't realize was that soon he would find himself on a path that would bring him closer to faith than he had ever expected. As the years passed, despite his fame, Freeman found himself increasingly troubled by questions that seemed to have no easy answers. Was life truly a series of random events? Or was there something deeper guiding it? He often watched others find peace in their faith, feeling a quiet longing for the kind of comfort they seemed to have, but he couldn't seem to find that same solace. Fame, fortune, and success had brought him recognition and respect, but they had also left him with a sense of incompleteness. Could there be a force greater than all of this? Then, during a break in Las Vegas of all places, he did something unexpected. He decided to attend a small local church. It was as if, for the first time, he was willing to see if he'd been missing something. Vegas was known for its dazzling lights, its endless entertainment, and the allure of chance, but this church stood out as a quiet sanctuary in the midst of all that noise. Modest and unassuming, the church had no flashing signs or grand entrance. Instead, it exuded a quiet warmth, as though it had secrets to share with those who were willing to listen. Freeman arrived alone, dressed inconspicuously, and took a seat in the back. As he sat there, watching people gather with smiles and soft words, he felt a strange sense of calm, almost as though he were invisible in this sacred space. As the service began, he listened to the voices of the congregation, rising in song and prayer, each note a testament to their collective faith. The simplicity and sincerity of their worship struck a chord deep within him, and he felt a shift he couldn't quite explain. The noise of the outside world faded as he sat there, enveloped by the quiet power of their devotion. For the first time, Freeman felt a calm he couldn't explain, as if the weight of all his questions was finally lifting. Could there be something he'd overlooked all these years? In that moment, he realized he was experiencing a glimpse of the peace that faith had brought to others. And for once, the idea of surrendering to something greater didn't feel as distant or unreachable as it once had. Sitting in the dim, peaceful light of that small Vegas church, Morgan Freeman felt something unusual stir inside him. This was a quiet, comforting feeling, a sense of calm that he hadn't felt in years. All around him, people sang with closed eyes and uplifted hands, their voices blending into a wave of gratitude and reverence. Freeman felt as though he were witnessing something sacred, something entirely beyond the logic and reasoning he had always trusted. As the music faded, an older man in the front row began to speak. His voice trembled as he recounted a story of hardship and redemption, sharing how he had nearly lost everything: his family, his home, even his health, before he found a renewed strength in faith. His words were simple but powerful, each one carrying a weight that resonated with everyone listening. Freeman watched in silence as people nodded, many of them wiping tears from their eyes. It was a moment of vulnerability, one that opened Freeman's heart to a truth he hadn't considered. It wasn't about intellectual understanding or grand gestures. It was about finding peace in the face of life's hardships. The older man's story echoed Freeman's own questions, his own struggles with purpose and meaning. How many years had he spent searching for answers in fame and success, only to feel an emptiness that nothing seemed to fill? The man's story showed Freeman a different way to approach life's challenges, a way that didn't rely on fame or recognition. The vulnerability he witnessed in that congregation opened his heart, and for the first time he felt a pull towards something greater, a feeling he could only describe as faith. As he walked back to his hotel under the bright Vegas lights, Freeman's mind was filled with questions. He had spent a lifetime searching for meaning, but here he was, shaken by a simple story. Could this moment of peace really be enough to change everything? He replayed the moment, the feeling of shared humanity, the sense of peace that had washed over him. Could this be what people meant by faith? Was this the peace he had seen in so many others but had never experienced himself? Inside his room, Freeman's eyes fell upon the Bible on the bedside table, a book he had seen countless times in hotels yet had never felt the need to open. Tonight, though, it seemed different, as if it were calling to him. He picked it up slowly, the thin pages feeling delicate between his fingers. Flipping through the book, he paused on a verse that seemed to speak directly to him. "Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest." The words resonated, touching something deep within him. He felt a calm come over him, as though he were finally hearing an answer to the questions he'd been carrying all his life. In the days that followed, Freeman continued to reflect on that experience, often finding himself drawn to the Bible. He read with an open mind, taking in the words as if each one held a new revelation. Soon he found himself talking about it in interviews, sharing how the moment in that small church had changed him in ways he hadn't anticipated. When asked if he believed in God, he no longer answered with his usual detachment. Instead, he would pause, a gentle smile on his face, and say, "I'm beginning to understand." Over time, Freeman began to embrace a quieter, more contemplative life. He no longer searched for fame or recognition with the same intensity, feeling that his true legacy would be found not in his achievements, but in the lives he inspired and the moments of peace he could offer to others. His journey from skepticism to faith resonated deeply with those who heard his story, leaving fans, friends, and fellow actors moved by the calmness and warmth that now colored his interactions. He encouraged others to find their own peace, not in success or recognition, but in a sincere exploration of what brought them meaning. Years later, in a candid interview, Freeman was asked if he had finally found what he was looking for. He looked at the interviewer, his eyes gentle and wise, and replied, "I think perhaps I've found a glimpse of it. Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about finding the courage to believe even when you don't." And so, the legacy of Morgan Freeman became not just that of a brilliant actor, but of a man who found meaning in the unlikeliest of places. A quiet church in the heart of Vegas, where he experienced something miraculous that changed his life forever. Freeman's journey had shown him that some mysteries were meant to be lived, not solved. And in that simple truth, he found the peace he had been searching for all along.